Good morning and welcome back. Welcome back to Who Am I? What this is just a frank discussion of what it means to be a human being on planet Earth right now. Who are we? Where did we come from? Where are we going? What's the point of everything? What's the object of the exercise? What are the rules of the game? How does the medium that surrounds us work? What is this matrix that we are embedded in, that we are made of? This quantum field that connects us all, and understanding our place in the 3D movie that's going on, the nested universe that we all share, all of that. And it all depends on my ability to pull it together, because we all have all the information. So I'm not really talking about stuff that is out there in a way. I mean, it literally is out there. It's everything I speak is already out there. I'm just gathering it up and adding it together, trying to figure out who am I, and how does this work? Because I'm tired of doing it wrong. I'm tired of us doing it wrong. I'm tired of us not understanding things. And so I began this quest just for my own self, as I wanted to know who I was, and we're going to talk about a whole lot of things. I don't mean to be pedantic. I absolutely do not mean to be pedantic. I don't presume to know. I'm not special, except for the fact that we're all so special. And if we could pull this together and be who we are, we don't have any problems that we can't fix. We just have to understand who we are and what the laws of the universe are. And my particular area of the world, what I try to shed light on, has to do with energy, literal energy, source energy, the energy that we use to fuel our society. I think that we have solutions that are potentially available to us that we are not exploring because we don't know who we are. Now, it used to be in the old days, actually I stopped doing it beginning of August, I think, but, or maybe it was just September, but back in the old, for the longest time, I had a links list that was the description of my show, which is why nobody ever found my show, because my show was not describing itself. It was showing a list of links that I wanted other people to go watch. Go watch the Lost Century and How to Reclaim It. Go watch The Origin of Mass and Nature of Gravity. That video is, that link there is the one that it goes to the paper that Nassim Haramein and his a team of his, published last September. It's called The Origin of Mass and Nature of Gravity. And if we would really understand generally the shape of this in our own minds as it relates to the configuration of our lives and our relationship to each other and all of that, and then at the same time understand that its mathematics are a roadmap, Freudian slip, a roadmap to the technologies that we need to actually solve our problems. The biggest problem that we have, bar none, and no matter how anybody obfuscates, the biggest practical issue that human beings have on planet Earth right at the moment is energy. Energy. We are made of oil. Oil is killing the planet. There are more and more and more of us, and everyone wants that comfortable human life with access to the human supply chain, human technologies, human support from other beings, transportation, all of the things, the energy, all the things that human beings want. Everybody wants it, and there's going to be 10 billion people on the planet at some point. Now, some people scream, well, then we have to go backwards to an agrarian society, back to way back when, because remember way back when there wasn't that problem. Well, you know, the problem is that way back when is not right now, and that's not going to work. And not only that, it doesn't need to work, because we're not going back, people. I think we're going on, and the answer is we've got to solve our energy situation, and I think we already have, in a way. The knowledge is there. The understanding would be there. Now, actually, I shouldn't stay on this links list. It's so boring. Let's go through it real quick. Lost Century and How to Reclaim It will be back. I'm going to talk to you about that. Quantum Revolution. That's the series over on Gaia. It's 12-part. Nassim Haramein did it. It talks about the unified, the physics of a unified universe, and then the fullness of space, and then it talks about the black hole structure and the spinning space-time and the holographic nature of it all, and the feed-forward feedback loops of information flow that explain consciousness and gravity, how gravity plays into this spinning space-time, and memory, because your memory is not stored on your individual cells to die with you when you die. The memory of what happened to you and what happened to all the field around you was recorded on that area of space-time that we were tracking in as we flew by on the planet when it happened. It's recorded out there on the space memory network. It's like the hard drive of the universe. That's where what memory is. Everything is just way so different than what they told us. Anyway, that's what that series is talking all about that. So if you really want to, the next thing, the connected universe, that was Nassim Haramein's first. It was a big movie that they did about his, it was a documentary narrated by Patrick Stewart called The Connected Universe. All of these are YouTube links. I don't know if they're still alive. These aren't actually links. You're just looking at a picture of these links. This used to be in the description of my video, which is why nobody ever found me. You know, I've been doing this since the first of the year. But, I've been recording and uploading onto YouTube since January. I've been making these videos since last September, maybe? October. We're going on a year working on this. But I didn't really want to invite everybody in. Hey, come and listen to me rap about this when I'm not very good at it. So then just a couple weeks ago, I changed it to an actual description, and lo and behold, there are people in the room. It's so exciting. So anyway, now after the Connected Universe, we have Living in the Future's Past. I throw that one in. It's a different movie. All of these are free on YouTube, or they were when I linked them. It's narrated by Jeff Bridges, and it talks about us as a superorganism. You have to understand, we're a superorganism. We're a field phenomenon. We are vibrational beings in a vibrational universe. The whole setup is so different than we have been told, you know? And it's just worth reviewing and looking over the whole thing and ascertaining our entire situation, you know, all of our systems, big and small, who we are, how it lines up with how we're designed, what's our biotechnology. We muse for a minute, usually in the course of most morning shows. I muse for a minute on the possibility that we might be genetically modified, and I point to the one piece of evidence that I know of that sort of agrees with that. if that turns out not to be, if there's another explanation to that fusion, it's still interesting. That's still where we made our leap, however we made it. You know, I just find the extraterrestrial aspect interesting, and part of it is interesting because the whole reason that in The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It, that movie, they claim that the biggest reason why we are being lied to about the extraterrestrials is because they are demonstrating to us both modes of gravitational control and energy supply that we are being told is not possible. Now, I can almost understand for a minute why there is a national security issue in the idea of every single being out there having access to free, clean energy now, this instant. And especially if you think about, if you believe that movie, some of these over-unity devices, which we'll talk, what's an over-unity device? It's a device that is capable of putting out more output of work, energy, than it takes us to run it. That doesn't mean it's making up energy out of the universe, which is impossible. Although if you try to tell somebody about an over-unity device, it's the concept of it. And if it's even, possible, everybody that I have ever broken that to who has never already thought about it themselves beforehand always gives you the knee-jerk reaction of, that doesn't sound possible, because our collective educational system is telling us it isn't possible. Our commercial physicists, our commercial physics is not telling us that over-unity is possible, because it has. So there's different ways that it's done. Like there are frequencies that you can lock your machinery into and have it running off of them. There was some guy that had something that was running off the magnetic field of the earth, There's all kinds of ways to do it. Somebody had it worked out so that they had fixed a more conventional kind of engine, modified it just a bit, so that it could run on a mixture of mostly water with a little bit of oil to keep the engine parts from seizing up. There was another guy who had invented an engine that was completely different and ran on water. All of these things confiscated by our government, our patent office and such, for reasons of national security. And I'm sure that it's a mixed bag. Because everything's a mixed bag. We are a mixed bag. There's positive and negative like everywhere. There's baby and bathwater everywhere. And it's just up to us to figure out which is which. So I'm sure that it is a national security threat. For if you just twinkled your nose and told everybody, you know what? You can have all the energy you want to do anything you want to do. 100 years ago, if that was understood, the mean forces of the world might have gotten a little more traction before even I don't know. It seems kind of scary to think of the idea of Hitler having all of the energy that he needed, because he was never going to quit. He just ran out of steam there. And what happens if his thing hadn't run out of steam? The idea of having that free, clean energy source without the understanding of who we are and how we relate to this field seems there might be some validity there. I don't know. Let's cut him some slack. But that was then, and this is now. And I think that what is threatening mankind's future more than that is fossil fuels. The burning of them is going to cinder this planet. It's the reason we even talk about a carbon footprint. It's the source of scarcity. It certainly is the source of scarcity within the human economic dynamic. I've been talking about I noticed And there's so many places where this would apply. But I was just noticing, it just jumped out at me in that Still Standing show where that big orchard, that apple operation had to stop because there just wasn't money in it. And because the cost of production had just gotten higher and higher and higher, and the cost of apples wasn't rising to meet it. And would you want it to? Would you want it to get up to, $10 a pound for apples so that the apple orchard people can, make? No. What we want is we want the price of production to go down. How does that happen? We find the source of clean, free energy. And I think the bridge to it is over unity. And the big kahuna is source energy itself. And so we ask this question, who am I in reference to source energy? What is this source energy thing I keep talking about? This vibrational universe. Who are we? Who are we? There's other things. There's other things you could think about. National security. So what happens if it is true and we could shift our energy systems practically overnight on the dime of us understanding how it works? We could, we could maybe go find those plans that the patent office has already taken. I'm sure they're in a government vault somewhere. We could go find those, or we could just get the word out and then throw open a contest. Hey, anyone who can come up with any device that works in any manner that has a certain ratio between what we have to do to get it started and how it runs, So we put in. It has to be like. I don't know. The scientists would come up with the rubric. I don't know if that's the right word. The description, I guess. I'll just make it easy, of what would qualify. And if it put out X amount, then up to that threshold, anybody who can come up with $1 million, and we all own it. It's open source and anybody can use this idea. Any of the ideas that come forth from this great contest, this great energy contest, everyone can use them as soon as the contest is over. And at the beginning, the people who come up with the ideas, they get paid big amounts of money. Now, all everyone has is great ideas and more energy that they can put into their own. Now, one of the reasons we don't do these things is because we're frightened to do these things. You know what's going to happen if we could turn this energy situation around on the turn of a dime? In our country, what's going to happen is almost immediately I can think of how many different industries are going to collapse. How many different people are going to now have no jobs? Now, they don't need a job because all their job was focused towards was obtaining the energy. Well, now we've got the energy, so we don't need them doing their jobs anyway. It's not like we needed them to do that job over there. That job doesn't need to be done because we still have the energy and all of the real food supply and all of the things that are actually making things go, they're still running, So putting all the people out of work in the energy industry and replacing it with all the energy everybody needs, that wouldn't be a problem, except for in our country, we don't have a safety net. And so you have this nation of desperate people, frightened people who cling to what they've got going on because if they lose it, they can't feed, clothe, house, or take care of their families. How can you even imagine what that would be like to be a mother who cannot feed her babies? How can we even think that is okay anywhere? It's not okay. It's not okay, and it doesn't have to be this desperate Darwinian at each other's throats, kill or be killed kind of paradigm. We don't actually live in that paradigm. That's not who we are. That's not where we're going. And to continue to live that way is to go the doomed road of the misguided autocrat. You know, this condition, the psychic condition that Paul Levy calls Wetiko, Carl Jung called it authoritarian psychosis. It's a condition where your mind and your brain and your heart are not in sync with one another. But we're made to be in sync. Our brains and our hearts are supposed to be working in tandem. They're organs in the same body. They're the body's in the same system. It's ridiculous that the reason we think some of the things we think is because we don't think. We're just impulsive out there in the world, and that's fine. You don't have to be a person who, dissects it, and analyzes it the way I do, to absolute freaking death. You don't have to be somebody who does that unless you're called to do that. But if you're not going to consciously examine all the details of the universe and think about it for yourself, then you really need to be in good vibrational touch with your inner being, your greater self, the overview mind, the vibrational aspect of you that is reading the whole field. It's reading the whole field. And the way it's reading the field is through your atomic structure. It's reading all the atomic structure of all the universe. Your spirit is not in touch with the physical world. Your spirit is literally in touch with all the physical world and giving you access to the information of all the physical world too, by the way. She's not just telling you about stuff about, what you need to do so that when you die, you go to the right, place so that you can, play your harp in the right choir, or I don't know. I don't know what kind of odd things people think about the structure of the universe. We also think a lot about there being two sides. We're on this side of the veil, or we're on the other side of the veil, or whatever. And the fact is, there's really only one thing going on. And it has different aspects, different ways to look at it. And some of them are great fields of ways to look at it that kind of shift the whole ground under your feet as you look. So like if you're looking at form or formless, for instance, there's some things that, or whether you're looking at macro or micro, there's some views, but it's just one thing. And those who are non-physical are not off in a different room doing different things. They're right here with the physical here and now, because the physical projects of the physical rolling manifestation of the world of here and now is what's interesting to all of us, including them. And so we're all in this together. All of the souls who have lived before, who have been part of these projects, the projects of us coming to understand who we are and how this whole great collective universal mind actually functions. We are all a universal mind, and we don't need to fight so hard to be that. That starts leaking into that. We might talk about the dangers that leads to, the lockstep and groupthink. You don't want that. People trying too hard to be one. We are one. We are matrixed in as one flow of information, as one flow of energy. You yourself are part of this. Your physical body is an interesting aspect of this. And, we overly attach to our physical bodies. But the fact is that our physical bodies are real, and they are important, and they are our link to the rest of the, I keep saying field, and I don't want to overuse the word, but you can't separate who you are from what the rest of what's going on around you is. Although it is important to understand that you have divinely autonomous control over your own individual position. The position that you've got, that you're occupying, and if you would get into the center of your equipment and start focusing your apparatus in a forward direction, trying to intentionally determine, evaluate, recognize aspects of it that you like, and focus on preferred aspects, positive aspects, and start putting them together. Abraham has you doing a process where you start out meditating. You meditate for 15 to 20 minutes every morning. You just kind of pause and, interrupt your freaking negative stream of judgment and, discomfort that you're spewing all around you. You have to get off of that channel if you ever want to plug into the channel where the universe is trying to give you what you want. Trying to give you what you want. It's trying to give us all what we want. We just have to understand who we are and how it works. Because we're just misoperating the equipment. The equipment is absolutely fabulous. The idea of being able to drive a human consciousness at this moment in time on this planet, at this moment of awakening, with all of the information laying at our feet, and at least in the country where I am, the internet being free enough that I can go access all the gurus I want and add them all up and go, oh my gosh, look at who we are. Look at what we're doing. Look at how powerful we are. We are powerful creators. The problem is we got to understand that you only really want to create when you're facing in a forward position. If you got your equipment backwards and you're in your negative mind, don't act from there. Feel from there, think from there, connect back to the greater picture from there. And then when you get yourself turned back around and understand again, oh yeah, that's who I am. And now when you get forward facing, that's where the good ideas start coming. And if you could start learning to focus on the good ideas instead of being overly distracted over and over again. But you know what? Even your negative mind is trying to lead you to things. My negative mind, well, it wasn't really negative mind, but my desire to look at and feel about things that were negative. Now, I never really did much acting about it because I'm not a joiner. I'm just my own little self. And so as I went through the stages, there were a couple times when I fussed a little bit with my body and my actions, but it was just me against. So one of the first things that I fussed about was the growing, encroaching power and structure of multinational corporations. Well, what was me, little not joiner me, back in the 80s, connected to nothing, bartender, nothing, pool player, completely ignoramus about so many things and not worrying about it. Me, what was I going to do about it anyway? So I thought about it. I felt about it. My mind took me there. It's not wrong. I cried for different things. It's not wrong because it added it blew pictures into my realization of the whole world and what I want in it and what I don't want in it. What do I prefer? What would be better? Well, if everybody had access to clean, free energy, that orchard up in Canada would be able to function. They would be able to afford to grow their beautiful apples and employ all their wonderful people in the valley to, making money selling apples because they wouldn't have to piss most of the money away into buying the energy to start the whole thing in the first place. The energy is the key, people. And so that's why I tend to focus on it in the show sometimes, because that's where the rubber hits the road for all of this stuff. It's what's going to make our society different. But here in the United States, it's hard for us to imagine how tomorrow, if it was possible for everyone to have a clean so what's going to happen at first is that there's going to be a run on the what it takes to build these devices. But the fact that even humanity opens up their understanding that these devices are possible. So the bridge device is over unity. The big kahuna, the holy grail, is source energy. Actually being able to go into the vacuum itself and make it work for you, or figure out how to tag into the source of all energy itself. That would be the one that if we could plug our society into that, then literally there is nothing. We could go make ourselves another planet and then just, like all close our eyes and wink ourselves over there. I can't even begin to imagine what is possible when you realize the vibrational nature of this universe and how it's all vibrations, tuning into different channels of frequencies of things going on and stuff tagged together, and how you're supposed to run your own equipment because you are an individuation sitting in the center of a source energy spinning vortex of attraction, a collection of beings all around you. You're one with the field. You're all spinning. The field is spinning. It's all spin. You got to understand that it's all spin. So that's who you are. And if you get the two of yourselves lined up and you keep yourselves looking in a forward direction, knowing that your default setting is you are supposed to feel good. You are not supposed to feel bad. You are not made to go out there and find all the bad things. Make the bad things turn you into bad, and then now that's your signal to change the condition. And once you get this condition changed, now that's your permission slip to, okay, now I can feel good. That's not the way we are designed, although it's funny that so many people live as though that's the way we're designed. We are actually designed to feel good, to feel happy. We walk out there, we see a condition that we do not like. Boom, do not like that. Ooh, that feels uncomfortable. Oh, I don't like that. I don't like that. But you know what? I know who I am. I know who we are. I know how to fix that. And, and then the way you fix it is you don't let it change your frequency. Your frequency is still upbeat. It's still positive. You have to know that the ground being of you is positive, and you hold to that. Hold to that. Don't let anything change your frequency. You can recognize, oh, I don't like that frequency, but don't let it change yours. So, anyway, if we had a universal basic income, just enough to make sure that we don't turn any of our citizens into desperate people doing desperate things. Because I'm telling you, the price that we pay to go back in and clean up all the things that desperate people break and steal and sell for nothing, and then we have to replace for their original cost, and all of the price that we pay for that is way high. The universal income, universal basic income would cost a fraction of that. And you know what? We don't want to be a nation of desperate people who are afraid to be flexible, who are afraid to, follow a good idea, who are afraid to follow their dreams and open an eatery or change from this job and go over and do that. We need people to be brave enough to move from where they are to where they want to be. And right now, it's so much of a risk if you leave a good corporate situation or a good government job or whatever to go out and you know what? Part of the system that is entrenching itself kind of has a mind that wants us to stay working for them. It's like if you had universal basic income, why would anybody want to do some of the shit crap jobs that we have them doing right now? Well, the point is they wouldn't want to do the shit crap jobs. And you know who would want to do the shit crap jobs? The automation and the artificial intelligence. Some of those structures want to do the shit crap jobs. But the reason we fight those things is because we're competing with them for those shit crap jobs, because without those jobs, we can't feed our families. But what happens if we could feed our families anyway? Universal basic income. It wouldn't cost that much. And the destruction to society from all the Shiva demonic and Loki energy that we're unleashing on the field because we don't understand how this works, that really state of being is indeed the most important thing. It's the most important thing. So where do we go from here? Jazzed up, jacked up. I don't know whether I want to show any of my slides. I have slides. You know, I can do the whole show just showing this lovely magic child. Or I have all kinds of slides that we can move around through. Peaceful background. This one's a little more energetic. I call this fiery tree moon. But I have other things too. Because my whole talk is about who we are as source energy, who we are as connected to one another, who we are as this one field, matrixed together. What I do affects you, what you do affects me. I wish it wasn't true. Do I wish it wasn't true? I don't know if I wish it wasn't true. We live in a really cool universe. Maybe I just wish people understood it better so that we'd quit fighting one another. We don't need to be... Actually, I'm going to come back here. We don't need to be in competition with one another, because the paradigm that we're in is actually not one of competition. It's one of coordination. It's one of cooperation. It's one of co-creativity. It's one of win-win, great ideas and synchronicity and the fabulous adventure that we might all get on if we started exploring this concept of synchronicity and leaning into all the things that we want and start noticing all of the rendezvous and the things that line up and the surprise and delight and the, oh my gosh, I can't believe that just happened. And, I remember I took a seminar. It was 2020. It was online. I did a Jean Houston one. And she talks a lot about quantum powers and quantum time and quantum this and that and the other. And she had been walking. So this is the kind of rarefied air that this woman walks around. She's walking around somewhere. I'm going to slaughter her story. And I'm hoping that the spirit of it still translates correctly, even if I get the details wrong. And I'll try to be general enough so that the details won't be a factor here. So she's walking in, so I don't know what city it was, New York, Washington. Might have been New York, because she was getting ready. She was with somebody who had to give a high-powered talk to some big high-powered body, like the United Nations or something, or the Senate, or I don't know who. And the person she was with was important and famous, like Margaret Mead or something. It wasn't a politician. It was an author or a scientist or something. It was something like that. And they had been working on their speech, but there was a little aspect of their speech that she hadn't quite worked out yet. This person that Jean Houston is walking with, I think it was Margaret Mead, unless it was somebody else. And as they're walking down the street and the speech is like tomorrow or whatever, they run into the person who is the expert in the whole field, the one who wrote the paper on whatever topic it is that Margaret Mead needed to clear up, she needed information about in this speech that she was giving to the whatever. And I don't think that things like that are accidental. I think that's the universe organizing us. And it's organizing us along the lines of what we care about, what we love, what we're interested in, what we're, how we engage in the physical world, because the physical project here is the interesting one. It's the one. It's the, anyway. So, who am I in all of this, and what do I do with all of this? Because it certainly seems to me that the ideal situation that we might have in this world is quite a bit different than the one that I notice that we have. I try not to notice what we have most of the time. I just try to notice like where I am and what I like about where I am and what would be possible from where I am. And when other thoughts start leaking in, so the whole secret of manning your equipment, getting to the center of your own center, of driving your own divine autonomy, is getting a positive momentum going, because that positive momentum going will, through the longer that you can sustain it, the more it echoes you into the whole rest of this echoing, swirling picture, and you link into it more and more and more. If you feel the first positive urge and immediately jump to action, you aren't going to get it quite as well as if you wait and let the positive momentum build. Because I know I'm starting to get new listeners, people who don't have a history of the show. I've been doing the show for a while. I have at least 130 shows that are forward-facing, and they are like a history of my developing the collection of this information as I put it together, and my ability to put it together. At first, I sounded really stilted. I had this narrow picture of the circle of information that went from Nassim Haramein, the paper, the whole idea of unified physics, and the idea how the quantum world relates to the cosmological world, how the mathematics relates, how it is that you can look at the structure of the universe and from that extrapolate from that the radius of a proton 4% more accurate than what the conventional model had said. We're talking about a true understanding of how the mathematics of this universe relates. Now, if somebody else comes up with another way that it relates, fine. But it's going to relate to this too. I mean, all of this, because it all relates, because it's all one thing. We are one thing. And the thing that looks like it's physical, the physical and the energy is all the same thing, and the part that looks physical is being... Oh, what was I going to say about that? So, it's all made of Planck's. Have I said this today? It's the Planck field. It's this quantum field. Why does everybody keep talking about this quantum? Like it's... some people do it to sound smart. Some people kind of understand what they're talking about, but the quanta is just, actually the quanta is what we used to think the atom was. It's the primordial iota of the universe. It's what it's all made of. And what it is it's a frequency, and it's a really, 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 really short one. Now, a photon is a pretty short one, but that photon is not, the photon is an organization of more Plancks. It's not just one Planck. A photon is actually quite a bit bigger than a Planck is. A Planck is also, it's a vacuum fluctuation, it's a quantum oscillator, it's like the 0 point, and at any point, at any quantum oscillation point, a spin could start. Or if a spin has started, like you are a point of spin, by the way. Did you know that? You are a point of spin. You are a source spin, and then you are your individuated spin. And how well are you blending those two? If you're blending them well, you feel good. You're operating your equipment well. You're getting good imagination downloads from your greater vibrational self. You're operating nice in the field. That's what's happening. If you are not in alignment, if the two of you are not in alignment, your head has just gone off some way other direction, left its heart and God and your feelings, your sense of, I don't like to use the G word. It puts a whole different kind of spin on this. And besides that, most people have already defined the G word all kinds of ways. We're talking about energy. We're talking about source energy. And it's up to you to figure out how that structure relates to what you think the G word is. That's where the private stuff goes. But the public stuff that we all should understand has to do with these energies and who you are in your two selves. Your conventional self being guided by your vibrational self. And your vibrational self is in touch with all the rest of the field. And the way it does it is through this Planck field, which is this energy that is touching itself, that is relaying information across all the scales, back and forth, up and down, from large to small. It's all data streams and fields of information that you have access to as you link into the layers of yourself, going in. That's what you do when you're meditating and going in. You're linking up to greater fields of information. And the reason that you have access to all this information is because you're holographic. It's all right there, everywhere. The information of all the universe is in the Planck field of every element of your physical body. Every atom of your physical body, every proton of your physical body is a little black hole. And within that black hole, spell it either H-O-L-E or W-H-O-L-E, it's a little fractal integral reflection of the whole rest of the universe. It's a little wholeness. And in its Planck field, it's reflecting all the information of all of the other protons in all of the universe. And here is I think this is I screenshotted it from Nassim's paper, The Origin of Mass and Nature of Gravity. I also screenshotted a whole bunch of stuff from the 37-minute video, space-time pixelation and the Planck units. There's the formula for the Planck length. Anyway, what is a Planck length? What is a Planck? Well, you take a photon, which is a packet of light, and it's moving at the speed of light. Oh, wow. I can almost see why it would be doing that. It's linked into the rest of the stuff. Anyway, okay. So it's moving at the speed of light, crossing its own diameter. That's a Planck. The length that the distance that it went, which is it's not even the radius of a photon. It's how far you go when a photon is crossing its own radius when you're going at the speed of light. It's really, really short. really short. And the time it takes to do that, that's also really, really short. And mass and energy, there's an equivalence there, and so there's a mass equivalence, and that's really, really small too. And it's so small, and there are so many of them packed into that proton. Remember, if that Planck field is reflecting all the other protons in all the universe, that's a lot of protons. If you turned every one of those Plancks, if you grew it to the size of a grain of sand, that proton would now be from our sun to Alpha Centauri, fill it, make it a sphere, fill it with sand. That's a lot of Plancks. That's a lot of Plancks in every proton. And so your inner being, in order to be in touch with all the information of all of the universe, does not have to go anywhere, because the information of all the universe is holographically baked into every atom in every bit of physical matter everywhere around you. And that's how the matrix works. It's so freaking cool. We are part of this, and this feed-forward feedback structure of the universe is the explanation of consciousness. And this, I haven't gotten very many comments, a couple comments. One said something about how what I seemed to be saying was a reflection of their own inner thoughts. And it's because we are all in universal consciousness all the time. All of us are here all the time. We don't realize that everybody else is here too. And you get some people that are isolated out there. They get some sort of weird religious upbringing, and then they stumble across universal consciousness, and they think they're the only ones there. And they get all wackadoo about it, and they get God complexes, and they're not wrong in a way, but what they're wrong about is they don't see how they fit into the rest of the field. And if they would see that, then they maybe somebody who is so sure that they are massively important. Now, they may take that and go to destructive, horrible lengths. And all of the other stuff that they say about this is all wrong. That when they say, I am right, I am right, I am right, I am good, I am good, I am good, and that's all good. But then now if you're saying I'm right and you're wrong, so the I'm right is still correct, you're wrong is not, and it sort of invalidates the I'm right. I don't know. I'm saying this poorly. What I'm saying is that everybody's right about something really important, even the people that you most fear and most disagree with, and most, the autocrats and the demagogues are the ones that I hate and fear the most, And so the Putins and the wannabes and the ones who follow such strong men, because their consciousness doesn't understand the actual paradigm that we're in. They believe that we're in a zero-sum game, fighting for a finite pie, us versus them. It's competition. It's, winners and losers. It's win-lose. Trump is all about the win-lose, and, all of us winners and all of you losers and all those. He's all about that. If you listen to him, he's got that. And it's that polarization itself that's the problem. So Trump is not the problem. God bless his misguided soul. And all of them, from this position, you can be quite magnanimous towards all of the evils. From Putin to Kim Jong-un to Hitler and all that. You can start understanding all of them. And, you don't have to withdraw love from people that you... Now, that was a leap. I was going to say this sentence in another context. When I talk about the extremes, like Hitler and stuff, it's the only way to love Hitler is to get far enough away from him that he's way in another time. And he's far enough away that whole debacle that he invited us back to, is seen now as a vast illustration to how the energies work and who we are and what we shouldn't be doing. We should not be motivating on our negative self. Our negative self is the devil. It is the devil. But it's not really the devil. There isn't a devil. But there are very dark, poisonous, uncomfortable, destructive energies that are born when we cross our own energy stream, when we take our two selves. So this is my very lame, and I always say it so you know there's crossed energy here. I don't love this picture, but it's just an illustration. The aperture on the left is your source side. The one on your right, imagine it to be your physical self. That's your physical self. And one is a powerful point of attraction it's a swirling disc. Imagine it like a galaxy or it's sweeping cooperative components into its swirling, spinning orbit. And what is at the center of these vortices of attraction? It's our desire, our love, what we want. But we're so busy paying attention to all the things we don't want because we're not understanding how our equipment works. It's okay. We have to take in some information about the things we don't want, but in order to get where we want to go, we got to focus there. What do I want? I would like to live in a world where I am tired of hearing about the things so if you know me, and a lot of people watching the show now do not know me, they've just met me. I have a short litany of woes of humanity. It's short because I try to bundle it into a real small thing because we can't focus here. We just have to know that these are the things we'd like to change. Sixth mass extinction is underway right now on planet Earth as we lose the blessed and divine, beautiful diversity that this planet has been building for the last how many millions of years. Sixth mass extinction, garbage island, global warming, desertification, world war, world poverty, scarcity in general. I know there's others. I got to be careful staying over here very long because the answer to our problem is to understand how cool we are, how blessed we are, how beneficent the field is, how the whole deck is stacked in our favor. It is absolutely stacked in our favor, but the secret is we don't know it. So that's why I think we need to understand who we are and how the field that we're in works so that we function correctly. We're just misoperating our equipment. We do have an internal operating system that if it's lined up with our greater self is close to infallible. If it's completely lined up and without resistance and has all the information to work with, it might be infallible. It probably is the machinery of universal consciousness, which is infallible. Universal consciousness really does know where everything is, knows where your blood is flowing in its veins, knows exactly the state of your blood sugar, knows how the wind is blowing, knows where the mouse is under the floorboards, knows everything. And the reason it does is because this Planck field is reverberating its vibrational information across all the scales. And that's what is making this thing we call 0-point energy. And this 0-point energy field is connecting us all, and our understanding of it is going to get us away from scarcity and back to the abundance that we were made to be, to create, to participate in. We can re-garden planet Eden. We should be the gardeners of this great planet and the caretakers. Thank you very much. I used to really object to that wording in the Bible because it seemed to me that it was saying that we had the right to do whatever to whomever, and, God had given us this right. And it's not exactly that. Somebody gave us some powers. They have given us our neocortex. They have given us our overview mind. And that's the part of it I did mention at the very beginning. I haven't showed you my evidence. Here's the oh, I'm just past an hour. Perfect. Here's the neocortex, your overview mind right there. When this part of our mind developed, we didn't trade in the minds that the foundational minds we had going, the mammalian mind, which had a pretty good system for giving you a reaction on liked and not liked in the physical world. Am I afraid of that? Do I hate that? Am I jealous of that? Does that make me anxious? Do I love my child? All of the beginning of those vibrational reactions to the field around you, we still have those. We still have our lizard brain working on a lot of our autonomic nervous system. The parts that we don't think about are breathing and that kind of stuff. Well, the neocortex just gives you a layer that's sort of the overview. And this is analogous to, like, your overview mind is to your lower brain. It's kind of like your inner being is to your conventional self. But it's even more so because it's connected to all the universe. And the interesting thing is that this neocortex, a lot of the volume of this comes from human chromosome number 2. And it was Greg Braden that pointed me to going over, and he doesn't say, go look at it. We were genetically modified. He's very coy about it in a way, even though this is his slide, and he's obviously pointing us to looking at this chromosome. He doesn't want to lead you to saying the words that I say. I mean, he doesn't want to say them himself. He wants you to fill it in. This is implying we're genetically modified. So I went and I found this article that he's talking about, the origin of human chromosome number 2 being a fused chromosome. And it's really fishy the way it's fused. It's fused telomere to telomere, and I say these words and I'm going to explain them today instead of just saying the words. Fused telomere to telomere with redundancies on both sides of the fusion clipped away to stabilize the fusion. What do I mean? If it's 2 chromosomes, they have a lot of things that are the exact same, because they have all the chromosome parts. So now you fuse them together, and if you take a little bit away on one side, so that now what the other one, what it needs on its side, you clip it away so that they need each other to be whole, so that they aren't wholenesses on their own. You clip a little away on one side and a little away of something else on the other side. So now, in order for them to be whole, they have to hold together. You could imagine that this happened somehow accidentally. It would have happened around 200,000 years ago. Whenever it was that our scientists agree that anatomically modern humans appeared, and they keep looking for the missing link out there in the bones, I think it's here. Or it's one of the things that's here. Here's the article. That's the actual article, and I found it, pnas.org. It's over there. Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences is it's an open source journal. Our scientists publish their work to this journal. You don't have to belong to any club or pay anything. You don't even have to give them your email address. Just go over and look at it. It was published October 15th, 1991. There were 2 volumes published that year. Greg just says October. I found the article. It's October 15th, and it's the 40th article in, here it is, Origin of Human Chromosome Number 2, an ancestral telomere to telomere fusion. And then if you look at the full abstract, it says, we conclude that this is the relic of an ancient telomere to telomere fusion and marks the point at which two ancestral ape chromosomes fused to give rise to human chromosome number 2. I think that this absolutely lends weight to all of these things that I'm saying, even down to the energy stuff, because I think that they hide our extraterrestrial connections, our really obvious extraterrestrial connections, be it through a plethora of ancient ruins that can't be explained how they were made. Not really. Pyramids on mountaintops with, stones so big and set so perfect. And how the hell did that happen? The reason that it's hidden from us is because it is demonstrating to us a power source and what was the other? And gravity control that we are told. Our government right now wants us all to cheerfully get together and approve vast infrastructure projects to make America's airports and charging stations and pipelines and I don't know what all, roads and bridges and fiber optics and all that kind of stuff. And that sounds so cool, but it isn't, people. We don't need the wires. Don't let them give us this infrastructure. What we really should do is focus on food supply and universal basic income, and then open the doors up to everybody thinking, brainstorming a true 21st century future for us, and then let's invest in that infrastructure. How about that? Because there's going to be plenty of things that we need to make and do and build and fix and change. I just don't want us to spend all of our time and energy making a better and better 20th century world when we're in the 21st, 22nd centuries and beyond. And you know what? I don't think we're going to make it to the 22nd century if we do not shift our energy supply. And a shift in our energy supply is going to come with it and a shift in our understanding of the way physicality works and our whole world around us. And it's going to change the way our cities look. It's going to change the way we relate to each other. It's going to change everything. And so I guess I understand why it didn't happen so easily. But we need to understand who we are so that we can get a grip on our positive future. Play nice. Where do I want to go with this now? Let's see. I've done the pnas.org, and I've talked about the quantum field quite a bit. I could talk about it more. I mean, and some days I will. But we only need to understand this from a layman's perspective. To understand about the fullness of space-time. Space is full. It's not empty. The only reason it looks empty is because in the spaces where it looks empty, it's just not organized. It's not that field ain't there. The field is there. That 0-point energy field is everywhere, and it's kind of almost the reason they call it the 0-point energy field, because when you're at a place where it looks like there's nothing, it's still highly energetic. Even at that place where you go to where it's so cold that all the molecules have stopped, and that 0-point energy field is still highly energetic. There is no place that Planck field is not roiling. It's not doing its thing. It's reverberating all the information across the scales, and you're getting this information relative to how you need it. So you're getting all the information of, say, some planet on the other side of the universe, but it's buried in, it's not really coming at you, that part of the spin is not coming at you primarily, because that's not what you need to know first. The primary information you're getting is what's coming in immediately around your immediate meat vehicle, your HBV. Actually, it's your HBV. I call it the human being vehicle. It's a combination of your two aspects, your two spinning discs of attraction. One is your source self, and the other one is your individual self. That's the one you have control over. And frankly, your control over your individuated self is the only control you need. It's the only control you have, and it's the only control you need. Because all you're doing is you're navigating around the spaces and you're influencing the field around you either to coherence or chaos. You're either generating coherence or you're joining coherence, or you're generating chaos, or you're joining chaos. But those swirling movements of motion are happening all the time. And if you would understand your own system and just mind your own business, and your only business is to get into your own captain's chair, your own get behind the wheel of your own starship, and navigate your being of light where you want to go. I've been hearing things from teachers that I kind of believe some things about that tell me that there is way, 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 way more potential in the universe than I was even thinking about, because apparently you're not changing the world so much as navigating your experience into different dimensions that always exist. So every Planck second, which means billions and billions of times in a single tick of our clock, you're shifting into different versions of the earth. There's no shortage of versions of the reality that you could experience if you really wanted to. So the secret to that is learn how to navigate your own starship through the multiverse. And what that comes down to is the number one consideration is your state of being, because your state of being is telling you how you are doing relative to your actual guidance system, your co-pilot. It's almost your pilot, not your co-pilot, but how you're doing relative to the one who actually knows where you're going and what you're doing and how you're playing with everyone else and what you want out of the whole thing and what would be fun and what would be better and what would be beautiful and all that. You should be listening to her because she knows. She knows you, and she knows me, and she knows all of us. She knows everything because she's in touch with it reverberationally. That's my own word. I just made that up this very second. Reverberationally. Because that is what your inner being is doing with all the rest of the field. She's feeling it through the jiggle of space-time as all of these Plancks, it's sort of like, so I have this picture here. It's going to show us how you make a hologram. This is a conventional hologram. How you make it. This is just so that you understand that the wholeness of the picture comes in the interference pattern on the other side. See, so the one laser scans the object and then diverts the information to a plate. The other one just, diverts and then interferes with the one. And it's in the interference pattern that the wholeness happens. And now, in every bit of it, all of the information of the apple is there. And that's what's happening in the universe, only it isn't just two beams with one of them, reading some information and then the other intersecting with it. And now you've got one little thing that shows all of that one picture. It's all of it, jiggling with all of it. And that is the source of all things. It's the source of all energy. It's the source of you. It's the source of all the information flow. It's the what gives us this holographic oneness to this matrix that we're all part of. And I can't but help conclude that the universe is alive. I don't know if you feel that way, but I feel that way. The universe is alive, and when we connect to it with our heart and our head and all of the information that this blessed time in our history has given us, and the freedom, my freedom, I can go look up whatever I want, and all of this rich blessing of teachers, keep swallowing them. Add them all together, because it's the point where we all add up. The win-win-win-win position, that's where our inner being is actually standing. Because she is one with all of us, and she wants us all to succeed, because we are all her. It's just like you're not rooting for your kidneys over your liver. You want all of it to succeed for you to succeed. Now, you also know that every day millions of cells in your body die, but the project you goes on. And that's kind of what the whole universe is. And when you get on board with it, it fills you with life. And when you get away from it, you sort of slow down until you lay your head on the side of the road and close your eyes and grow still. And that's what happens. But the project life goes on. Project humanity goes on. And I would like to see Project Humanity go on. But I don't think Project Humanity is going to go on unless we figure out who we are. And if we do figure that out, there's a whole lot of things that will easily be fixed. With all the energy that we need, free and clean at our fingertips, full recycling of everything all the time. We won't have to worry about garbage island or otherwise. As a matter of fact, we're going to want to mine that stuff for all of the elements that are in it. And with free, clean energy, the energy to do it is not going to be an issue. This will happen so quickly once we understand. And it'll take forever and ever and ever and never happen if we don't understand. But I also do believe that each and every one of us has an inner being. And as humanity, we have a collective inner being that has been doing this for a long time. And it's the reason why we have been taking note of, keeping track of our history. Because we're trying to figure out, who am I? Who am I? What is happening? All the wars that we have fought have taught us that peace is better. Sorry, people, peace is better. But, you might say peace is better. But what happens if the situation that you're in... I don't know if I like that one. If the situation that you're in is everyone is peaceful and you have the ruling class and then all these other people who serve the ruling class and the whole structure is very, very stable, but we're not happy over here, and that's not actually the peace I'm talking about. I'm talking about the peace of true alignment. Because the problem with that other piece is it's not recognizing the field phenomenon that we are, and it's not recognizing that, it's not recognizing our structure. We can't cross our energy stream. When we cross our energy stream, when our two selves get crosswise of each other and we go into the negative, there is a literal energy thing that we are doing to the field around us. And since we are a field phenomenon, we affect each other. So every time we create systems that do not account for who we are collectively. I think we have to account for all human beings, because human beings are a powerful, powerful race, and human beings out of alignment are massively destructive. And we need to keep them all under the spiritual auspices of the one body. So our systems have to account for all of us. If they do not, then you end up with beings on the outside of the systems who are desperate, frightened, angry, jealous, and all of that is crossed energy that's affecting our field. And those people and that issue, if left unchecked, will develop into chaotic storms that swirl back into our systems and knock shit down. It's destructive energy. It's Shiva energy. I have also since come to call it Loki energy, since I watched that show, The Antisocial Network, as I watched these guys, with their, burn it to the ground attitude about the Anonymous. You just go watch that. It's actually very interesting over on Netflix, The Antisocial Network. You could just see these young people who were left out of the system, who were discouraged about, this big soulless system structure that has got us all organized. Because organization is the key, people. Organization of all kinds. It's all gentle spins of organization. And when you spin it with love and this win-win, expansive, looking for beauty, harmony, and all that kind of, when you're in that kind of organizational structure, that is aligned organization. That will last. When you organize in other ways, you create this other kind of energy that creates chaotic storms, which are also a form of organization. A hurricane is a storm of organization. It's just the wrong kind of organization. It's the destructive energy organization as opposed to the constructive energy organization. The love part, the oneness, recognition, the universal consciousness, that side of the organizational pattern, that one is blessed. That one does not contain the Loki energy, because it happens when you cross your energy stream, when you criticize yourself, when you criticize someone else, anytime you take up a thought that is not in harmony with what your inner being knows to be true. And I'll tell you what your inner being knows to be true. Your inner being knows we're all right. Your inner being knows we are all together. Your inner being knows that it is all about love, and it is all about connection, and it is all about abundance and joy and fun. Now, your inner being knows that and has known it through all of the ages that we were involved in beating each other up in our wars, and all of the times that for all of eternity, your inner being knows who we are. She knows what happened to us 200,000 years ago that gave us this consciousness that is actually capable of lining the inner and outer selves up, and then now gazing at the universe and going, oh, that's what you are. What can we do with this? And that's where we should be. That's where we should be. And not slogging around in the, we are meant to be happy, and you are meant to be happy, and you are meant to follow your bliss. Follow what interests you. Follow what excites you. Follow what makes you feel good, because you're supposed to feel good. You're not supposed to follow what makes you feel bad. And you know what? It's so weird that we're taught that, but you can almost understand why. You got to understand where the modern mindset came from. Why do we think the way we think right now in this time and space? It's because some 350, 400, it all depends on where you mark the beginning of science. So there's the beginning of science, but then there's that moment when the church quit fighting science and said, okay, fine, you go look at the physical world and we'll stay looking at the spiritual world. And so we split. And I know that I come from a culture that primarily was looking at the material world as what was primary in existence. Now, I know I had my church, but my church was kind of a weird one. I like some things about it. There's a couple of things about this church that make me realize why it's successful, and all the rest of it just makes me shake my head and go, I don't understand you at all. But the emphasis on the whispering voice of the inner spirit. Listen to your inner spirit. The Holy Spirit within you that is trying to guide you. That's one thing they do emphasize. And the other one is get into that spirit of loving, peaceful connection first, and then we talk about stuff. That is also correct. There's some things that they do well on a pedagogical standpoint. They take care of certain rituals as the human being moves through time. Everything from Boy Scouts and getting married and having babies and raising children and then funerals and, stuff like that. Somebody's sick and, rallying around and bring food. They're good on certain things, but their cosmology is off. And so I didn't have a very good cosmological guide as to, so I went with the other aspect of, which is just think that the physical world is the primary one and let the spiritual world kind of take care of itself. I was a nice person. I have always cared how I felt. I wasn't really much of a joiner. So it was just me and my little emotions, positive or negative, and observing my own track through time, observing, what worked and what didn't work and where it fell to pieces and, what was I moving towards, what did I want, how, that sort of self-examination of my life. So who are we anyway? Who are we? I believe that we are positive beings. Abraham brought that to me, made me understand that our actual nature is positive. That positive, hopeful, cheerful, good-humored self inside of you is who you really are. And if you are living a life where you have hardly ever seen that person, then you don't have any idea who you are. You don't know who you are. You don't know who anybody else is. You don't know what this world actually is. You're seeing only little fragments of yourself all the time. You are a fragmented individual. We're all fragmented. We need to come back together as a whole, as a general whole, as humanity. Humanity is who we are with a capital H. Mankind with a capital M. That's who we are. We are all cells in this great being which is counting on itself, in order to survive. Now, I don't know many people who can survive without the supply chain of all the different points of foodstuffs and all the goods and services and different things that all the different people produce, everything from media and entertainment to great idea to stuff to services, healing services, foodstuffs. Maybe I take something that someone else has grown and I turn it into a finished food item and now I put that up on the market. You just don't understand. We are a superorganism. And it's high time we learned to behave as one, because our wars are literally autoimmune disorders, and we cannot do that. We cannot we cannot afford to keep bombing our infrastructure into oblivion and then rebuilding it. And the only reason that we keep doing that is because we keep building it out of alignment in the first place. And if we would build it in alignment to begin with, we could just build on that and build on that and build on that and build on that, which is what we have been doing, but our foundation was out of alignment. And so everything that we build on top of it is teetering and gonna topple, people. It's gonna come down. Our whole monetary system is based on our energy system, and our energy system is wrong. It's wrong, and it's not only not sustainable. It's way past not sustainable. It's I'm being zapped by vibrations that I can't even begin to translate into words. It's the base of our problem, though. But it's also going to be the base of our solution. And it doesn't have to be harsh. It will be harsh if we keep resisting this and clinging to what we've got and clinging to what we've got and focusing in the wrong direction and believing our negative self and on and on. If we keep doing that, then our lurch to the change is going to be harsh. Every time we resist and then we have to lurch to a change, it's harsh. That's what the World War was. And I've come to start calling that World War, the World War, parts 1 and 2. Because the more that I study Hitler, the more I realize that he's the one that started World War II. He was kind of like, no, we are not finished with this conflict. We are going to go back until this is done. Until one of us lies bleeding and broken on the ground and the other one is victorious with their foot at the other one's throat. Or whatever. That was Hitler did that. It was World War I that he reignited. He reorganized that fight. And he went back in only with incredible racist tones. I don't think that World War I had the kind of racism going on that World War II had, but it was all the same energy. It was all the same thing. And if you look at the baby in there instead of the bathwater, so it's really easy to see the bathwater. All those people died, and it was so horrible and destructive and mean and suffering and cruelty and yada, 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 and all that. And we don't like world wars and we don't want them. Yes. But what did it accomplish? From the beginning of World War I to the end of World War II, the things that changed in the strata of human society was monumental. The opportunities that opened up for women and people of color and just all kinds. There were rigid structures that just would not move. And all of that, this all relates back to the Shiva energy and the crossing your energy stream and the two selves that we are. And but I don't need the whole world to understand everything I'm saying. I really don't need that. I would love that. I would love it if the whole world generally understood their actual situation and then leaned into the love, leaned into the better, leaned into the beauty, leaned into the co-creation. You know, I used to think that professional sports was the dumbest thing ever. Why don't they pay attention to things that really matter in this world? Like politics, which has to do with, what people's lives are like and who's suffering and, what our policies are overseas and, the military-industrial complex and, what welfare and universal health care and blah, blah. Why don't they think about that? Why do they think about football and stuff? But you know what? Ultimately speaking, when we pull this whole picture together, the sports that we play are really important. And it takes these contests takes the place of what would otherwise be way more raw conflict. We'd be having wars with each other if we weren't playing football with one another. But it would be nice if we did all of what we did in a context of knowing who we are and why we're doing them. And, there is a lot of male energy that needs to be harnessed, that needs to be directed, that needs to be organized, that needs to be channeled into productive ways, truly productive ways. And I think that sports is a huge part of it. I was thrilled watching the whole world come together and play with the Olympics. Now, not everybody thinks of it as play. The more upbeat that the athlete is, the more in a good humor, the more they are in touch with their true selves, the more they are in alignment with their true selves, the more right on is their performance, the more exquisite their accomplishments, what they're able to achieve out there on the field and wherever, the court, wherever these things happen. It all relates. It all relates. Who am I? Who am I? I see that I'm at an hour and 35 minutes. I have to go in 9 minutes. I could stop at any time. Let's see whether I have anything else I want to say today. I showed a slide really quick, and then I didn't explain it. I only do these just because we do live in a vibrational universe. And it's important as you evaluate the situation that you find yourself in to understand that we live in a vibrational universe, because it explains so much. It explains why your feelings are more important than you thought they were. When you see the physical world as being primary instead of as a secondary effect of vibrational output, the world is different. It's back. I started to say it when I was talking about back when science and religion parted ways, because they just couldn't figure it out. Okay, well, our specialty, now it's like our specialty is the spirit and your specialty is reality. Well, at some point, you got to add the two of them. If we really are two sides of specialization, you got to add those two back together again. And some of the foolish things that are believed in the churches do not jive with what we know to be true about the physical world. And it would be nice if what they know about spirit could be joined to what we know about the physical world, and you put it all together and you're like, oh, that's what it is. God really is love. God really does know everything. God really is everywhere. Ooh, the Holy Spirit really is talking to me. But understand what the structure of it actually is, and how we really do come together to be this one blessed creature that we are. So, hold on 1 second. I've got to find a note. So anyway, this what you're looking at right now, I've put up a slide of cymatic patterns. These are created by a digital device of some sort. You pipe a frequency into this device and it spits out a pattern, a picture. You change the frequency, different pattern. And cymatics is actually just the study of the relationship between a vibration and form. And here, these are a different kind of cymatic patterns. Upper right and lower left. That's how the field was studied in the first place. Hans Jenny would take a metal plate, sprinkle a granular medium on the plate, pipe a frequency in, and then watch the grains dance into a pattern. You change the frequency and the pattern would change. Increase the frequency and the complexity of the pattern would change. All very interesting. And then now upper left and lower right, these are also cymatic patterns, but they're ones in nature. Actually, a snowflake is a cymatic pattern. That's why all the snowflakes are different, because they are forming on different frequencies, the billions and billions and billions of different frequencies flying around in space, you know, out in the air. As those ice crystals form, they're all different. That's why they're a cymatic pattern. Isn't that interesting? It just helps us. That's not the one I want to show. It just helps us understand, you know, that we are vibrational beings in a vibrational universe, and how interesting and cool all that is. My alarm's going to go off, and I am having a hard time settling down. I could end. I've said almost everything I wanted to say. I could bring up the 5 kleshas. This is from Buddhist philosophy, and isn't this interesting? That they say, they consider this to be the root cause of suffering. Not knowing what's real. Grasping and clinging to what's not real. Because when you don't understand what's real, then you don't understand what part of that's not real. Anyway, being afraid of the unreal and recoiling from it. Identifying with an imaginary self. And then consequently fear of death, because you don't understand who you are. That you really are, the vibrational side of you is more real because it's more permanent, more connected, and more deeply entrenched in all of reality all over the universe. That's why that one is more real. But this physical self that you have, this is also real. If it wasn't for the physical side of the universe, the non-physical side would have nothing to do, think about, talk about, care about. We are 2 sides of the same coin. It all matters. So that's probably a good place to end. I want to leave you with one thought. And actually, I think I can do it before this alarm goes off. The thought is that we all create our very own unique reality within this common one that we all share. We are dreaming this experience into place, and we need to learn how to focus better so that we can quit nightmaring it into place. We are nightmaring it into place. So, and until next time, and I hope that you will be with me next time. I wasn't here yesterday because I had oral surgery. I was going to say something about that. I didn't post yesterday because I went in and I couldn't drink water, and I can't talk without drinking water. My mouth gets too dry. So I did not post yesterday, but I hope you'll be back with me tomorrow. If I'm back tomorrow, I hope you're with me today. I love you so much. I couldn't do it without you. And until tomorrow, may the source be with you.